in to office hours today. It is a wonderful day in Manchester, and I hope it is a wonderful day where you are. Please give me weather reports in the chat. That would be nice. How are we all doing? I hope Andreas wasn't too chaotic at last week's office hours. I sadly could not be here because I was at a conference in London, and I hope he behaved. We've got sons from Casper. Sam is typing, hopefully with a weather report. Or maybe to tell me how badly behaved Andreas was. All these people keep moving. Hello, very nice, good, excellent. So today, the agenda, we don't have a community showcase today. Please fill out the community showcase form that I keep spamming you, because I want to know more about the products you are creating and the projects you are making in Nordcraft. But I will shout out Armand. Big claps in the chat, please, for the first Nordcraft community documentation contribution. Thank you so much for that. Hopefully that sets a precedent that everyone will be able to fix up the docs and make them the best docs in the land. Very good. Thank you so much. And it was also Armand's first ever GitHub PR as well. So double claps for that, because that is a milestone. But how do you contribute to the docs? I'll tell you what, I'll show you on my computer screen. One moment, I keep pressing the wrong button because I want to make sure everything is correct for you, and I'm zoomed in too much. Here we go. Right. Let me show you, first of all, how you contribute to the documentation. Share. Oh, here we go. Here's the Discord share screen experience. Share this window. There, is that too small, or can you see it? Why is that so small? Why? I'm a pro. I am a pro. Make selection. Share this entire screen. There. All right, here are the docs. Beautiful, beautiful docs. I am actually currently going through every single page, reading every single thing, and making sure everything is tip-top for you. So Eric is getting a lot of my PRs. But if you go to the documentation, docs.nordcraft.com, you can scroll down to a page that you believe needs editing and click Edit this article, which will take you directly to the file on GitHub. Now, if you edit this file on GitHub, it will automatically fork the repo to your GitHub account. So you do need a GitHub account, and it will create a branch that you will then be able to submit a PR into the main repo for. However, if you are so inclined to code it yourself on your own machine, there is a contribution guide right here that gives you everything. It does tell you how we should be writing the documentation as well, how the pages should be structured, and guidance for including examples, etc. But if you scroll down right to the bottom, you can see a guide about contributing via GitHub, which involves forking the repository and then cloning it locally to your machine and making changes there and doing the usual. There is also a little script that Eric added yesterday or the day before to help you format your Markdown files correctly to avoid lots of back and forth in those pull request reviews as well. And you need Bun for that. And the instructions for installing Bun are here, and just a little script that you run in the root of the project, and it will format your files correctly if you have not done so already. So hopefully everything is set up to get you going. I really would like people, if they are interested in contributing to the documentation, please, if you are code inclined, please test this for us, because I have tested it, Eric has tested it, but the more people we get to use it and to test it out, the better we can make the documentation and the contributing guide, and the easier we can make it for everyone. So that is contributing to the documentation. And again, a huge round of applause for the Spark team who got us started on this, put together the whole Nordcraft open source project as well. You can even open this and clone this whole project in Nordcraft as well to see how it was built. And it's very, very clever. And what's really great, what I find really, really exciting actually, is when you are working on a local branch that you've pushed up, you can preview what the content will look like in the docs on the main domain by changing your GitHub username, changing the repo, and changing the branch that you're working on. And that has been fundamental to a great contributing experience. And that's especially useful if you're working with images or examples or how you're formatting lists. It's amazing, Quiet Rocket. It's absolutely amazing. And huge props to the Spark team who made that happen. And then you can just click this little button to reset it to main. It's wonderful. And instructions to do that are in the contributing documents as well. You add a query parameter mode equals preview to the URL, and that opens that little preview modal. Good stuff. Right, so I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to invite Keda onto the stage to talk about, I can never find invite to speak, and it's right at the top. And every time I go and invite someone to speak, I take so long to find it that they've already invited themselves.
It's just easier, isn't it?
Welcome in. Thank you for joining us to talk about all the cool stuff that you are working on in AI. Now, big caveat, big disclaimer that a lot of the things that Keda talks about today might not be released. This is all a work in progress, and we want your input on what you want to see from the new AI assistant. So I'm going to let you go.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so I have been working on implementing AI into Nordcraft for quite a while, actually. We've been investigating quite a few approaches, and now I think we've settled on an approach where we have the AI basically help you. It can build stuff, but it's not going to be the vibe coding trend that we see other places. Instead, we want it to be a help for you to be able to build your Nordcraft apps. So what I want to do is I actually want to show just some of what I have right now. As Salma also mentioned, it's a work in progress. There hasn't been any UX, and I'm a incredibly bad UX designer, so I haven't actually touched that at all. So try to disregard the UX and instead imagine how the functionality can work for you, right? But let me just share my screen. Share this window. So hopefully you can see the Nordcraft editor now. Yes?
Looks good.
No complaints. Good. And I don't need to zoom or anything. It's size is okay.
All pretty good. Maybe I would say one zoom level up.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
That's 10% more. Okay, so this is a brand new project. Well, actually, it's not, but it's clean still. There's nothing in it. So I'm just going to work from this. And what we've done so far is, again, this is purely for testing. And so this is just a chat window like the other AI is. It's a different one, though. We built and had help to build a RAG, which just today started crawling our new docs. So I haven't actually been able to test how good it is now. But it should be a lot better than it was due to the fantastic docs we just released. So we decided to go in a way of where the AI can build artifacts. And I have a few different ones it can build. There's also some that hasn't been split out yet. So let's start with a very short example that I have probably pasted in here hundreds, close to 1,000 times, I'm sure. But I want to make a login page. So I'm going to ask the AI to do that. And then you'll be able to see how it helps you with these artifacts. Now it's thinking. It actually does appear to be a little bit slow at the moment. The way we have implemented this AI is that we are telling it to use chain of thought prompt, which basically means that it's gonna lay out the whole process before it starts returning something readable for the user, which increases accuracy. So now it has told us to, well, let's make a login page. I asked it, right? So it's gonna say, okay, for that we need a page, so we can create a login page. And then I can click that, and now we just have a page. There's only one div on it with the path that it needs. Then we need some variables, one for email, one for password. We can create those in here. So we're gonna do that. And now we have those, right? Out here. Then it has created some HTML for us that we can use. So let's apply that. Now we have a nice little form here. So the next step, well, that would be we need to bind our variables to our input fields. Sorry, it tells us to do that as well. So we can do that. Let's do that. And now you can see that it's basically just the same as using this drop down, right? But now it's bound. It has the value, and there is an event when on input. It's gonna set the variable. And then lastly, it tells us, well, we need an API. So let's just quickly create that for us, and it does that. It just it tries to guess a URL. It doesn't know, and that's one thing we haven't really touched that much on yet, which is the context of your project. So it doesn't know if you have anything at the moment. One thing I think that could be cool is that if you have a service enabled or a service added in your project, that it would be able to read the documentation when it creates an API. And then from that documentation, it will see, oh, there is actually an endpoint for authenticating a user. So it would suggest that one instead. Another thing it doesn't do at the moment is when it creates the body, it does create it for you, but it just adds placeholders for email and password. So right now, I would need to change that myself. But again, it's to show how we are kind of envisioning this working, right? So yeah, now we have that, and this is just the basic artifacts that are built. So the next thing we could ask it for is that we would like, once we hit the login button, or once the user is authenticated, we want to redirect the user. So for that, we could use a workflow. So we could ask the AI to create a workflow that redirects the user to a given URL. And it is thinking again. So let's see what it comes up with. So now it creates a new artifact. This one is a workflow type artifact, where it creates a workflow, and we can see how it looks. It's a workflow. It has a parameter with a URL. Currently, there's a test value of just a slash, and then it goes to that test parameter, right, or to that parameter. So we could create that workflow. So now we have that workflow here, and then we would update our on success handler in our API to do this. And it could be to maybe a page we haven't made yet, but slash dashboard. So like this. The last thing I wanted to show as well is formulas. So in our example, let's say we have some requirements to the password. So let's make a formula that actually validates that the password you input is a secure password. So let's tell it to create a formula, and I have prepared these questions in advance, so I didn't have to type it out. So now I asked it to make a formula that checks if the input is a secure password. And let's see what it comes up with. So now it's a formula artifact. It decides itself what is a secure password. In this case, it says it's 8 characters long. It has an uppercase, lowercase number, and a special character. And again, we can preview it. It looks like this, quite a rather big formula. It also has a test value, so we could actually test it. So if I just write in test, what's the output? Well, the output is false, meaning it thinks it's an insecure password. Let's make what it requires, right? So now it's 9 characters long. It has uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters, and it evaluates the true, just as we wanted. So I haven't actually made yet that I could add this as a formula in the component or the page here, but we can create it as a global formula for now. So I'm going to create it as a global formula, and well, now you can see it's here, and we can go to our login page, and we can maybe tell the submit button here that, let's say, it's disabled, right? And it's disabled when the password that the user has typed in is not secure. So now it says, as expected, that the button is disabled because there's nothing in the password field, right? So we can go into test mode and maybe type in what it thinks is a secure password, and then we can go back, and now we can say, okay, it changed to false. So that works. Now let's say that this is a formula you created a long time ago. You cannot actually remember what it does. And big formulas, they can get complex, right? And this is actually a rather big formula. So why not have the AI be able to explain it for you? So I have played around with that a little bit, and we can ask it to explain this formula for me. And hopefully it will get us a response that we can use, and we can understand what this formula actually does. So now I pass in the formula as well, right? And then it does check what it does. So it says, well, it has to be it's a formula that checks if a password meets some security requirements. It has a minimum length of 8 characters, uppercase, lowercase, number, and special character requirements. And then it gives a bit of explanation. It gives some examples. So it could also be used to explain formulas, and I've also done the same thing with a workflow. So yeah, this is actually what I have to show at the moment. And I hope you enjoyed that. Just a small sneak peek of it.
Loving it. We got a couple of questions in the chat, but
Yes.
I do want to call out that Jacob loves it, and he appreciates seeing each step before applying changes. Quiet Rocket asks, is the underlying model public information?
So the underlying model is currently it runs on what's it called, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So that's what it is. Then we build the RAG next to it. So we have a service that will provide the right documentation as we to pass on to Claude, right? So
For those
it will
people who are not, go on.
Sorry.
I was going to say, for those people who are not familiar, can you explain RAG very briefly?
So the RAG, it's probably an abbreviation of something. I'm not sure what it is.
I can't remember either. Hang on, I'll find it.
Right.
It.
But what it does is that it crawls. So we have a database of all our resource augmented generation. There you see, someone new.
There you go.
Yeah,
Or retrieval augmented generation. There are two definitions, apparently.
fair enough. But it crawls our documentation. It actually also crawls what we call our forum, which is everything from, I think it's the help channel on Discord, and then our YouTube videos as well. So we have a huge database of all that. And then once we ask the AI a question, that question is then what can you say, analyzed, and the documentation that's most relevant for that question is then passed on to the LLM or to Claude. And then from there, it will use that documentation, it will use your question, and at some point to also answer Sam's question, it will use the context. But right now, it's not context aware, but we need context in there. I want to try and let it know when you're asking for a formula, for example. I want to pass on. So, what formulas do you have on your current page or your current component, and which global formulas do you have? Pass those in and let it also suggest using those. Right. Same with workflow and the like.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really powerful thing, especially if you have really big projects and you have lots of different complex formulas across the project, and you might want to be able to reuse bits here and there. And I'm excited to use that, because I still feel like I still feel like I have no idea what I'm doing in Nordcraft a lot of the time. And I think that's really going to help, because as people have been commenting, like it's not just doing it for you, it's helping you through the process, so that you might not need to use the AI the next time, because you can see the steps, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Which,
and I actually, now that I've been working with it for a while, what I use most is these explain me what this piece of or what this formula does. I think that's useful always. It's just really
it's going
nice.
to be incredibly useful, actually. Say if you clone a Nordcraft project and you want to familiarize yourself with it. Say if you clone the docs project, for example, and you don't know what a certain formula is doing, and then you can ask the AI, and that's actually going to be quite exciting. When you can clone the Nordcraft editor, you can ask what all the formulas are doing, because they're crazy big.
There are some crazy ones in there.
Crazy. But that's great. I'm really excited to see how that's going to progress. And let me know if you want any testing at any point, because I am up for testing that.
Absolutely.
To learn more.
I did just add you to the feature flag in our backend, so you could enable it if you want to.
Yes.
So I think the next steps, if just to briefly inform on that, is that we are also working on a way. So now you've seen the idea of having these different artifacts, right? But we're also working with ideas of, so how are we gonna collect all these strings into one thing? Like, do we need maybe we've talked about we could have some kind of agent in front of it that would actually decide. So when I type in I need a login page, you saw, well, then you need these different artifacts. So something that will do that, but in a bigger scale. So it would also say, well, you're gonna need this workflow, you're gonna need formulas and stuff, or maybe it should be up to the user. So you saw me select in the drop down which type of question you are asking. So there are different approaches that we are investigating at the moment. How are we gonna piece this puzzle together?
I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. How long do you think it's going to take?
Bye bye. No, it's there's a lot. There's still a lot to go, right? And currently it's still in this. Well, we are building, but it's also kind of an investigation phase. There's the whole UX, and I imagine what you saw today, it's not gonna look anything like that once it's ready for testing, probably, or at least open testing. There's also the whole thing about management. We do also have a threads database, which means every time you open the AI right now, we create a new thread. So we want some management regarding that. So there's a lot of things around the AI that's not actually AI, but the whole just the whole feel. And like you might want to go back. Maybe you refreshed your page, right? Suddenly your thread is gone. You want to go back and find a previous thread. Those kind of tasks are also there. So there's a couple of months at least.
So I'm thinking, given that at Nordcraft we've created a new category of web development engine, I think we might need to create a new category for AI powered coding that is not Vibe, but is something else.
Yes.
Sam
That
asks,
would
are
be
you
some of the
considering?
creative heads coming up with good names for that.
Yes. Bye. Are you considering it using or being able to use Spark Core?
I don't think we have. Maybe actually Jacob did mention that once, that we should look into that. It's not something we have looked into at the moment. The HTML part or the building of nodes in the AI right now. So the HTML artifact that you saw, that's currently just producing HTML with Tailwind classes, which is then using the Tailwind parser into Toggle. That was the quickest way to get something working. I have actually
It's interesting.
also... Sorry, yeah.
I was going to say it's interesting that whenever I've tried AI coding generators, they always give you React and they always give you Tailwind. And unless you specifically ask it to not, that's what it gives you. So I guess that's what it's mostly trained on. So whatever.
Yeah. It's I've also done the whole React route. We thought it could be fun investigating because, as you mentioned, they are very good at this. They are trained on it. So why not utilize that? So we actually had it build React components and then try and pass that into Total. It worked well, but it's a lot of work. And we figured maybe it's not actually the way or the work we need to put into it. Might be too much compared to what it would give us of benefits. So that has been shelved a little bit, and we pivoted, and now it's this small artifacts instead. There is still some parsing going on actually, because as you mentioned, and I think quite Rocket, that's probably also your question. The AIs today, they're pretty good at writing code. They're pretty good at JavaScript, for example, because there's a lot out there and they read it all, with or without,
Permission.
if they are allowed or not, I don't know, but they did. So I actually built two small parsers, one for formulas and one for workflows. So what the AI is returning is just JavaScript. I'm telling it which JavaScript functions it can use. So I pass in what in the prompt. I pass all the formulas that exist. What are the inputs and what types and all that, and then it returns JavaScript. So once it returns the JavaScript, I call a new endpoint, which passes the JavaScript into Total. So yeah, the intermediate what can you say, language is JavaScript.
Thank you so much. I will let you leave and go and work on your AI assistant. And thank you very much for presenting the work in progress so far. Maybe we'll have a little regroup in a couple of months to see how it's going, to see how radically it has changed and improved.
Absolutely. I will just answer the last question from Vale 7, which will it work for custom actions too? And it will, both custom actions and the custom formulas. And it does that today. I didn't show you, but it writes code, and you can actually diff if you have a custom action open and it writes a new custom action for you, you can diff it to the one you have open, so you can see what are the code changes it did. So yes, it will work for that.
Great stuff. All right, thank you so much. I am going to completely pivot to a completely new topic that hopefully will inspire you as well. So thank you, Keda. You are free to go.
All right.
And
bye.
I want to show you just a really cool article I found, and I also want to challenge you at the end of looking at this article to see what you might be able to come up with in Nordcraft. So before I show you the article, you may be familiar with what we call blurry image placeholders or low quality image placeholders. And this was kind of popularized maybe almost 10 years ago now, 8 years ago, where when images are loading in, before they've loaded, you show a placeholder on the screen that is a blank color, or it's something that's a low quality image that kind of represents the image. And it's used a lot in lazy loading. So when you lazy load an image and it suddenly appears in the viewport and the image starts to load, before you see the image pop in, you see that placeholder, and this reserves the space on the screen for the image, and it kind of makes it look better for the user. And there are a lot of packages and ways to achieve this, and it's normally done with JavaScript. But I found this article about minimal CSS only blurry image placeholders. The name of this author, Lean, escapes me. They've got more of a Lean Rada, right? Beautiful site. And this was written just a month ago. And now it is a 23-minute read, and I'm not going to read all of it for you, but I am going to share this in the chat as well. So this is essentially what the markup looks like on the finished image after all of the other CSS has been added to the page. And this custom property here, LQIP, low quality image placeholder, gives you this image, and it's like some kind of hash that they've calculated from lots and lots of calculations and gradients and stuff. Now, here's what it looks like when you change the value of that style, that CSS variable here. So you can put it to anything you want. And this person manually codes their website, and I've been reading about how they do it. And so every time they add an image, they know what the colors kind of are, so they could choose this value based on what that image is. It's not kind of calculating it automatically. However, here you can see some of the images that they've blurred using that CSS technique, which is just overlaying in this example in the same dimensions as the image. Now, so they first of all did a survey of all the other approaches available. And some frameworks provide packages and things like Gatsby is a big one. I know no one really uses Gatsby anymore, but they had a very popular plugin. I think it was called Image Remark or something, that did this blurry image thing by default whenever you use that plugin, and it calculated what it should look like. And there's like blur hash does a thing as well, but it's like JavaScript, and only kind of works if JavaScript is enabled. And obviously JavaScript coming down and being loaded, third-party JavaScript, gives you more page weight, and we want to try and keep our applications as performant as possible. Now, obviously, at the other end of the spectrum to using like JavaScript to do this, you can just use a simple plain color as the background. I think Pinterest does that. Oh yeah, Canva and Pinterest do that as well. Now, the advantage of a pure inline CSS solution is that it renders immediately. You don't need to wait for any JavaScript to load. You don't need to wait for anything to flash in and load and another network request to be made. It's just there on the page. And but the big disadvantage of doing this kind of thing, and if you create your own gradient, you normally have to put this kind of stuff in your markup inline before the image has loaded. And this is what this person was trying to circumvent and not use. So what they did was they wanted to encode it all in a single integer, and so they did this thing called bit packing, where you pack multiple numbers in an integer as bits, and the way that the numbers work is to do with like the data that you're packing into it. So I'm trying to understand this as I explain it to you, but I've read this article many times and I still don't really know. So my challenge will become clear to you soon. So this is a bit of an example of it. And you can do this all in CSS using CSS functions and pack this integer into different ways with different bits. And that's how it kind of gets calculated. So they also went on a little side quest to look at the limits of CSS values, because the spec doesn't say anything about the allowed range for integer values. But I think they stuck to a 6 limit because that's what they found. You can have many values. I mean, let's keep going. So in short, they had 20 bits of information to encode the CSS-based LQUIP hash. And it's called a hash because it's mapping from any size data to a fixed size value. So with only 20 bits, the LQUIP image must be a very simplified version of the full image. So they ended up with this scheme: single base color, 6 brightness components to be overlaid on top of each other in some kind of gradient. Very nice. So 9 numbers to pack into the 20-bit integer. They encoded the base color in the OK Lab color space, which is one of the new CSS color value things that are available that are more like bright. They feel brighter and more vibrant than the standard colors. And then they created a script to compress any given image into that integer format. Okay, so they did convert their images to that particular hash to get the right color kind of gradient. So get the average dominant color, etc., etc. So once encoded, it set as the value of that on the image tag itself via the style attribute as a CSS variable. So then you can define what the numbers are based on this. So the raw number data values need to be converted to CSS colors, which are done here. And then here is a demo of showing the kind of different ways you can visualize these different colors. So each one of these number integers is then combined together. And then you render it all with this radial gradient, where you use the different variables that are calculated, those different integers, etc. It's a simplified version of the full renderer, but the real one has smooth gradient, fall-offs, and blend mode. So this is this. And you can reveal the individual layers like this. So it's made up of these 6 things that then are all kind of like blurred together, which are like this. And these radial gradients are the core of the CSS-based LQuip. Now, they go on a little bit further to describe some more problems with it and stuff, and how they made a really nice radial gradient that wasn't like blocky. And what I wanted to set you a challenge of is achieving this in Nordcraft, because I kind of started this morning, but I've got far too much stuff to do, and this feels like more of a couple of hours of a project. But I wondered if somebody would like to take up the challenge to kind of do all of this, or as much as possible, in Nordcraft, whether or not you're processing the script for images outside of the project, or whether you're doing something inside it, or whether using an API or something. I just thought it might be a fun challenge for you all to try something cool to and maybe it could be a package at the end of the day or something to provide others with CSS only blurry image placeholders. So that's what I wanted to show you today, and give you that little challenge. There are no prizes to be won apart from my appreciation, but there it is, open for you if you would like. The link is in the chat, and if there are no questions about that, we will move on to Q&A, which I hope I can answer for you, given that Andreas is not here because he is traveling in America again, and given that he is not here to answer all the questions that I probably don't know the answers to. But you can feel free to ask your questions, and I will. Oh, Casper is asking a question. Great. Or maybe Casper can answer your questions if your camera works. Oh yeah, but aren't you recording office hours? So won't that go a bit weird? I don't want to risk that. Yes, it will. Yes, I don't want to risk that. So maybe if you need to, you can answer in the chat. But, oh, Lucas G is typing. Hi, Lucas. He can steal Andreas's computer. Well, I think Andreas might have taken his computer to America. Andreas is speaking at a conference, or taking part in a conference on some panel or something. Very exciting. Although I am not jealous of Andreas going to America twice in 1 month. In San Francisco. I am going to Leeds tomorrow to hang out at the All Day Hay conference in the UK. If anyone in this chat is going, which I doubt it, but it's going to be fun. Talk about Nordcraft to the conference goers. And if there are no questions in the next 1 minute, I feel like we can end office hours early. And please tell your friends to fill in the community showcase form so we can showcase more community products done in Nordcraft, because that is what fuels us. That's what keeps us going. That's what gives us a reason to live. Jacob was typing. Jacob, do you have a question? I can only vamp so much with no questions. We have another person typing. Freya is typing. We need more sound effects. We need sound effects to pass the time and to make me stop rambling about nothing. You can cut this bit out of the YouTube video, Casper, of me relentlessly vamping while we wait. Several people are typing, and I think they're just doing that to troll me, so I don't end the office hours. Can I connect another LLM instead of Sonnet 3.5? Are you talking about the AI assistant? I would assume that you cannot at this very moment, and maybe there will be plans to switch the model, but I am not aware of it, so it might be good to put that in the suggestions channel and tag Kedda in it. We did not talk about Spark, Dan. We talked about the work in progress AI assistant, the new AI assistant in Nordcraft. Lucas G is typing. And I think also maybe given the proprietary way in which the AI model needs to work with Nordcraft, it probably wouldn't be beneficial to switch models because of the things that are going on under the hood. I think it needs to be a pretty specialized implementation rather than just kind of getting a response from any old model, I think. Is the roadmap going to be updated anytime soon? Casper needs to update the roadmap, doesn't he? Yes, we need to update the roadmap. Lots of things coming. And I don't know whether I'm at liberty to say, but the things are happening. Tease some of it. New ways to add CSS to your projects in Nordcraft. New ways to create stunning, beautiful animations in Nordcraft. That's all I can think of right now. Did I tease them effectively? Oh yeah, Jacob makes a good point, because Nordcraft is going fully open source. Something like that will be possible to change the model in the AI assistant. Yeah, it will require some work, given the proprietary nature of it's not just JavaScript. There's a lot of work that has to be done to change that JavaScript to, especially the steps that need to be done, and with the buttons to click, add this, add that. I think that might take a bit of work. Everything will be possible. Everything. Nordcraft will make everything and anything possible. Will there be PRs added? To what? Nordcraft? Well, when Nordcraft is fully open source, yes, you can PR to your heart's content. As a marketing strategy, is it not possible to do a course for free code camp? A lot of people would watch it. Well, Dan, I am actually, when I've finished this couple of weeks of intense work on the docs and conferences and stuff, my next big project is to build a whole new Nordcraft course. But first, before I start making the course, I have to make the app that you will start building on the course. And I want to, rather than doing lots of little challenges like the current starter videos are now, I want to build a proper app that touches every part of Nordcraft. So I need to build that app and make it fun and cool. It's not going to be a to-do app or an e-commerce app. It's going to be fun and cool. And I'm probably going to have to build APIs for it too. So it's going to take me a little while to get a really good app up and running, and then rebuild it again as I make all the videos. So I am definitely promising you that in the next few months, you will get a new course, and it'll be very different to what you have now. Bear in mind, Eric is a hard man to convince regarding accepting PRs. He is, as am I. I am a hard man to convince as well. But that's going to be exciting. So CSS, cool things. Animations, cool things. Open source, cool things. New course, cool things. These are all the cool things. These are all the cool things. I don't actually know if that will be the way to contribute to the editor, because there's the runtime and there's the editor, and the editor is built in the editor. So I guess you'd have to contribute to the editor inside the editor. I don't know. I think we'll have to work that out. Because no one wants to be writing JSON all day. People want to be editing in the editor. We also need to sort out, Casper, as I've got you here, a contributor role for Nordcraft contributors. And I don't know whether you want to distinguish between docs and code. So I know we have one, but it doesn't have an icon. And I don't know whether it was available to give out freely yet. Because if it is available to give out freely, then you need to give one to Armand for the docs PR. Again, another round of applause. Do you have that role, Lucas? You do have that role. Let's bundle it. Let's bundle it. Can we have a really cool icon, Casper, for that one? Like a pink one or something, but I know that's not on brand. Something that really stands out as being extra special. Anyway, I have talked enough and I have vamped enough. So after Casper sends this last message that he is typing, I think we're going to end the office hours. Let's see. So we'll be back next week. And I've just closed the chat. There's the chat back. We'll be back next week and look forward to seeing you. I've got some cool stuff to show you that you can do with CSS, but only in Chrome. And we'll have something from Eric in the Nordcraft engineering section. And if anyone fills out my form, we will have a community showcase. So please tell your friends, and I will see you then. Goodbye.